Hi everyone, I'm so glad to be here. My name is Michelle. I'm the crochet pattern designer of Two Brothers Blankets, and I'm excited to talk to you today about crocheting your own clothing that fits and feels store-bought. Today we're going to go over some things that will help you to achieve that store-bought look when you're crocheting your garments. Things such as using gauge, pattern and yarn choice, adjusting and customizing, blocking, and embracing the process. First, let me share a little bit about me and why I am talking about crocheting garments that fit and feel store-bought. So like I said, I'm Michelle. I've been designing crochet patterns since 2014. I started out in blankets, hence the name Two Brothers Blankets, and quickly decided that I really loved and enjoyed crocheting garments and clothing to wear, and it became my favorite thing to design. In 2023, I self-published my first crochet pattern book, Crochet Makes for Men. It is all garments and wearables for the men in our lives. And during the process of designing the patterns for that book, I really learned a lot and really started to understand the process that it takes to create a store-bought off-the-rack look through crochet. Designing garments is a never-ending learning process for me. I have always said I am always learning new things about designing in general and then also designing garments. I love to learn new techniques and styles that will work with my designs, and I still have a lot to learn. So why do we want to achieve the off-the-rack look? I feel like crochet sometimes gets a bad rap and doesn't uh, really come off as that wearable. Usually it is a bit thicker, bulkier. You'll see a lot of, balloon sleeved. I'm thinking of like big cardigans, heavy things, because we like to use worsted weight, bulky weight yarn. We like to get things done quick. It just doesn't have the same reputation as a knitted garment does. And even though it feels like it can't be that wearable, it really can with the right techniques. So we want the style. We want those cute crochet clothings that are trendy and modern and look good. But we also want comfort. We want to be able to wear it. We want to be comfortable in it. We don't want to be hot and sweaty and itchy in it. And we want a really good fit. If it doesn't fit, you're not going to wear it. And if it's not comfortable, you're not going to wear it. So those are the things we want to achieve. And we can do that by just changing a few things and getting that off the rack look. One of the most important things when crocheting a garment is checking your gauge. But did you know that gauge can tell you so much more than just what hook size to use? By thoroughly checking your gauge, you can also learn about the stitch definition, the drape, the sizing, and the durability of the yarn you are using. Yarn is going to be a huge factor in getting that comfortable, stylish fit that you want that looks store-bought. So you want to thoroughly understand how that yarn is going to work for you for that project. When checking gauge, I always recommend washing your gauge swatch to determine how the yarn holds up in the wash and to check your blocked gauge. If you're making a crochet garment that you plan on wearing often, you're going to want to wash it. And if you wash it, you want to know how that yarn holds up. So look at the yarn label, follow the washing instructions for your gauge swatch as well. If it says it can be machine washed and you want to machine wash it, throw that gauge wash in the machine and wash it. If it says it can go in the dryer, throw it in the dryer. If it tells you to hand wash and lay flat. Oftentimes your yarn will grow or change in size after it's gotten wet. Sometimes it will shrink in the dryer. So you'll also want to check that depending on how you plan to wash your garment. And then I recommend checking your blocked gauge because if you plan to block or wash your finished garment, you're going to want to use your blocked gauge or after washing gauge, I guess I should say also, because if you dry it and it shrinks back up, you'll want to check that as well. But after you're washing, check your gauge again to determine your hook size. If that's what you plan to do, that's what hook size you need to do after it's already been washed. And that's going to help you get a really good fit and know how the yarn holds up. Let's talk about choosing the pattern and the yarn for your project. If a store-bought look is what you want for your clothing, there are a few things to consider when choosing a pattern and the yarn for your project. Crochet clothing patterns that use lighter weight yarns are more likely to give you that store-bought look and feel. I know we love the worsted weight yarns and the heavier yarns, but if it's for a garment, it just really helps using a lighter weight yarn. Even for warm winter sweaters, fingering #1 weight yarn and sport #2 weight yarns work well because they are not too heavy but can still be warm depending on the fiber used. Lighter weight yarns usually have a better drape as well, which tends to make the garment feel more like a store-bought piece of clothing. It is still possible to get a store-bought look and feel with thicker yarns, and going through that full gauge process will give you the information you need to finding the best yarn for the project that calls for thicker yarns. I have used thicker yarns. I started out using worsted weight yarns and DK weight and even some bulky weight yarns for my clothing patterns, and then I got into the lighter weights, and it really truly makes a huge difference. I know we don't always want to hear that, but if that's the look you're going for and the feel and the comfort that you're going for, you're going to want to use lighter weight yarns and choose projects that call for lighter weight yarns. One of my most popular patterns, the Dutton hoodie, is a hoodie pattern that uses the alpine stitch, and it's in fingering weight yarn, and I've gotten lots and lots of questions about if people can use a thicker yarn for it, because yeah, it's going to take some time doing the fingering weight yarn, but that hoodie is heavy enough with fingering weight yarn that if you were to use a DK or a worsted, it would be so heavy and so uncomfortable. So a lot of times the fingering weight yarn is going to be just fine in the warmth department and the heaviness department, where worsted and bulky will be actually too heavy and too warm for you. So I always recommend the lighter weight yarns. That's pretty much all I use anymore. DK is like the thickest I'll go. And usually if it's DK, it's like a cotton blend or something that's going to be a little bit cooler. But you're also going to have an amazing drape with the lighter weight yarns. It's going to block out better. And it's just going to be a lot more comfortable. And you can also get a more customized look with lighter yarns. Knowing how to adjust and customize your project is key to a garment that fits and feels great. Learning how to adjust a crochet garment pattern to fit your body specifically is so important. We as designers write the pattern based on a set number of measurements that are given to us by the Craft Yarn Council, and we all know that one size does not fit all. So learning how to make adjustments and alterations to your garments that you're crocheting is going to be key in crocheting pretty much any wearable. Things like adding length, creating more room in certain places, and shaping will give you that customized look and fit that you want that's going to fit your body. If you're unsure how to do these things, I highly recommend checking out my YouTube channel and signing up for my 4-day email series called The Ultimate Guide to Crocheting Garments. That gives some tips and tricks on how to make simple adjustments to your garments to get a more customized fit for your body. Blocking can help your garment have a better fit and drape for wear, which is going to give it that store-bought look and feel. It's going to help the project have more of a fabric feel to it and provides a nice flow to the garment. It's going to open up your stitches and provide added width or length to the garment. So if you have something really lacy with a lacy stitch combo, it'll open up those stitches and make it just really beautiful. It can also open up tight stitches like this sweater here, and give it a little more room, give you some more room in length and width. And it also can help stubborn pieces lay flat and help relax curling within the project. A lot of times you'll see like curling with certain stitches and stitch combos, Blocking is going to make it lay flat, or your neckline, it might be sticking up a little or something. Blocking is going to help that lay the way it should. Blocking is pretty essential to crochet garments. It's not always a must, but I do think it definitely gives you that feel, that fabricy feel of most clothing that you can buy at the store, and it just gives the fit. It gives it a better fit because it just kind of opens everything up. Our clothing that we wear from the store is not skin tight against our body. It's a little oversized. It has some flow to it, and blocking is what's going to help you get that with your crochet project. All right, lastly, I want to talk about embracing the process. When crocheting your own clothing or crocheting a garment. It's not going to be a quick process. At the quickest, and maybe this is for like a summer tank top or something, I can crochet a top in about 2 weeks. Usually it takes me to make a sweater 4 to 6 weeks. And I do this full time. This is my job. So going into a crochet clothing project with the perspective that it will be a bit of a longer process than smaller projects will help you to not rush through it without taking the necessary steps, such as gauge and checking fit and making adjustments. I cannot stress enough the gauge process. And then also stopping, giving yourself like stopping points or milestones as you're working on the garment to stop, measure, make sure your tension's still the same, make sure it's measuring what it should, and also fit check. Try it on if possible. If you're making it for yourself, try it on, hold it up against your body. Make sure that things are going the way they need to go, because if you get way far into it and it doesn't fit, or it's too big, or it's, whatever, it's not long enough, I don't know, you're going to be frustrated and you're going to feel like you wasted a lot of time. So take the time to first do that gauge process and then stop and check your fit and make adjustments as needed. Embrace the time it will take and view it as a fun challenge to complete. The reward will be well worth it when you have a crochet garment that fits and feels amazing. There's nothing better than finishing that garment, getting all the ends weaved in, blocking it out, and then being able to wear it. Like, it truly fits well, it looks good. People think, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? And you get to say, I made it. It's very rewarding. So even though it takes a while and it's a process, it'll be worth it in the end. I put here my personal process. This is just what I do as I'm working through designs or crochet patterns, garment patterns. I choose my yarn usually. I go through the whole gauge process, and if it's going, it's how I want it to be, that's the yarn I'll choose. If not, sometimes I'll switch yarns and try the gauge process again and see which one I like better. I determine that this is indeed the yarn I want to use for the project. I give myself milestones and stopping points to stop my work, fit check, and measure. So usually, depending on, if it's a top down or whatnot, if it's a top down raglan, I'll stop at the end of the increases for the raglan and I'll try it on. If it's bottom up, I'll try it on after the bottom part, make sure it's stopping at the right point, which is usually at the armholes. I check after the armholes are created that they're big enough for my arms. I check, halfway through, make sure my tension's not loosening up too much and it's not getting too big or growing in size, or I've added stitches or anything like that. So I stop at certain points and check and measure. And then as I'm checking and measuring, I adjust as needed to fit my body. So I've talked about this a few times before, that oftentimes I will need a little extra room in my hips. I'm more of a pear shape. And so as a garment grows, or it's the length, I just need a little bit extra of room. And so what I'll do is I'll go up a hook size or two to loosen up those stitches just a little bit in the areas that I need more room. That's what I mean by adjusting. I'll do that sometimes with my arms. If I'm making the sleeve and it's a little tight, I'll go up a hook size or two for that. Things like that to make it fit better, fit my body better. Once my project is finished, I will block the project one way or the other. Sometimes if I'm just using like an acrylic yarn or a cotton yarn and it doesn't need a lot of extra room or anything, I'll just run my steamer over it quickly. Sometimes I will just spray it, pin it down and spray it so that it lays flat. And then sometimes if I need some more of that extra room, I'll wet block it so that it will really open up everything and um, fit really well. And then I wear it and enjoy it. It's like I said, it's a great reward to have a garment that you made yourself that fits perfectly and just looks really good and you feel really confident in. That is my presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and watch. I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more and be inspired by some cute clothing crochet patterns, I would love for you to visit my website. It's www.twobrothersblankets.com, and you can follow me on all the social medias. My YouTube has a ton of information on crocheting garments. I did a podcast for a while that was a lot of that, like making adjustments and stuff like that. So there's a lot on my YouTube. There's also tutorials, full pattern tutorials for some garments. And then I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. And I would love it if you would follow me. Thank you so much again for watching. Thank you to the host of this summit. And let me know if you have any questions.